Yes, my old friend. I've come to talk about you again. My name's host Eric, and I'm here to say welcome to Talking with Famous People. Uh, I was watching a very interesting interview on Growing Up Scientology that A.A. Ron did with Dale Wheatley. And I felt as though the interview broached some interesting topics. Hi, Meanbird. How are you? Including the topic of how much power corrupts. I would say that is not always the case that the power corrupts everybody, right? Surely it's not the case that every celebrity with a lot of influence and fame, money, and presumably power accordingly uh, is evil. Surely it can't be the case that all of them are evil. One would hope, one would imagine that at least some of what we think we know about some people is correct. For example, uh, hopefully Keanu Reeves isn't secretly evil. Hopefully, as Rachel pointed out, the South Park guys aren't secretly evil. That would be very disappointing. I'm pretty sure the South Park guys aren't because I remember them doing an interview where basically we're like, yeah, we're not like the kind of guys that want to high five while tag teaming somebody or something. It just isn't us. They said basically something like that, right? So they seem like sane people. And certainly you get much more of an understanding of who Matt Stone is because he's much more responsible for the cartoons, narratives, character construction, stuff like that. He makes basically writes the whole thing. Accordingly, I'm pulling up the thing right now. Just give me a second, everybody. I can't read the chat until I pull it up on the big screen because I have the eyes of a child. Oh, Clowny got deleted. Party with gay men. No, I was not at any of Diddy's freak off parties, but that is ancillary to what I'm discussing here for sure, or even I guess you would say the source material for what I'm talking about. In part, watching this Growing Up Scientology channel hosted by A.A. Ron, I am learning a great deal of things about the connections between celebrities and various Scientologists. And no, Troll 3657 already answered that question. God, be better at trolling. Don't be so shitty at it if your name's Troll 3657. Unless it's aspirational, you hope someday to be a troll, but in the meantime, you're just a spammer. I'll slum it here for a few minutes while waiting for my bro. All right, sounds good, Hong Kong sports. Speaking of sports, how many of you out there saw that remarkable World Series Game 1, in which it was back and forth affair? The Dodgers ended up winning it in the bottom of the 10th on a grand slam by Freddie Freeman with 2 out. Very exciting stuff. Regardless, I'm a Dodgers fan. My wife's a Yankees fan. She's from New York, so it's a divided house, but we're not super competitive or anything. I'll be happy for her if the Yankees win. She'll be happy for me if the Dodgers win. You glanced at it in the restaurant. I see. Anyhow, this one of the things that this guy has done in life is he wrote this Dale Wheatley guy. He wrote this book about various power abusers in Hollywood and the various abuses that they perpetrate against people either abuses that deserve some sort of maybe civil compensation, or abuses that maybe don't, but they're still like it still kind of appall the conscience, and then some of them are criminal, right? And he talks about, in particular, Leonardo DiCaprio as being a complete scumbag. But apparently, there are multiple people in Hollywood who are just complete scumbags. No, I wasn't watching Kirk Gibson's home run in 1981. This is the first game won at Dodger Stadium since then, for sure, to end in a home run in either the bottom of the ninth or extra innings. I'm sure of that. Freddie Freeman had an epic bat flip, too. It was a super slow bat flip where first he stuck his bat out like this, and then at the end, he just let it fall off his fingers all nonchalantly. I'd like to see, as I was telling Rachel, I'd like to see uh, baseball develop bat flips that are complex and choreographed like football touchdown celebrations. I think that'd be fun. I was suggesting, for example, you take your bat and pretend to jump rope with it and then let it go as it comes like this. That would be a good one. There's a lot of things we could do. Everyone hit the like for Obi-Wan Kenobi, bro. Well, thanks for suggesting that. I appreciate it, Hong Kong sports. People who tried to out Weinstein had their careers marginalized and silenced. Then he finally went down for whatever reason, so they got silenced. Well, I mean, I actually contacted this guy Dale Wheatley and asked him if I could interview him, because watching the interview was very interesting, but I have a lot of my own questions. He says yes. I'll do a little bit of prep even, writing out some questions in advance that I want to remember to ask him. Because I want to know, among other things, like what is it that protects somebody from becoming like that? And is it necessary that you be either a perpetrator or a victim in Hollywood? Is there any way to be successful in either a non-perpetrator or victim role? So these are questions that I want to ask this guy. Accordingly, I asked him if I could interview him. Hi, AA. Now, it's not the case that I actually do a lot of interviews of people, even though this channel is called Talking with Famous People. The last real purposeful interview that I did was of Michael Reel, who is a person who got lost in the woods somewhere in, I think, West Virginia, I think it was. I don't remember the state, but his story was kind of famous among paranormal storytelling, Missing 411 paranormal storytelling here on YouTube. Except the actual guy contacted me after I made a video calling bullshit on somebody else's video or something like that. And he said, I want you to interview me. And I was able to interview him. That was very exciting for me. Apparently, if you just double tap your phone screen, it likes the video. That's what I've heard now for the second time. Rachel mentions it. Somebody mentioned it the other day. So if you'd like to do it, that'd be wonderful. But if you don't want to do it, that's fine too. I like videos by my own I have my own standards for which videos I like. I like videos only when I feel as though the channel needs to be encouraged or is less successful than it should be. If I think the channel is as successful as it should be or more successful than it should be, I'm much less likely to like a video. Anywho, and obviously, if you're using the same metric, then cast judgment accordingly and say, that's not worthy, or it is worthy, or whatever. This is what I normally do, just live stream like this. I like videos when I like the videos. That's a lot of liking, potentially. I mean, what qualifies as liking them? I used to love red and dirty videos. I don't know what that means. All right. Hooray for me. But not hooray for Hollywood. I also want to ask this guy if he thinks that that in all kinds of powerful positions, fame positions like that, corrupt equally? Like, is it just as bad in sports as it is in the entertainment business? Cash Bandit 417. I don't know where Pelican Bay is, and I don't know what that means to run those yards. Red Rose that smash carriages and troll in Home Depot and Lowe's. Oh, it sounds like miserable content that I would not want to watch personally. If that's your taste in shit, then obviously you do you. But I don't like it when people involuntarily involve other people in their art non-consensually. It's fine if people do it to me because I mean, it's not really fine if people do it to me, but I don't. It doesn't bother me quite as much if somebody were to do it to me, depending on the context, right? Like, obviously, if I'm live streaming, I'm fair game to trolls coming and trying to troll me. That's just part and parcel of the thing that's being done. And you could think of trolling as it's basically an art form that doesn't involve garnering the consent of the person being trolled. Rather, it specifically involves not garnering that consent. Nevertheless, it is working in a medium of sorts, and I think it's more appropriate to troll a YouTube streamer on his YouTube stream, for example, where every streamer should expect a certain amount of that. This is just how it goes. Than it is to troll unsuspecting people in the store who probably don't want to be party to your shenanigans, to your entitled shenanigans, whoever you are. But I think YouTube also shows that power corrupts people, and lots of people have ended up having a lot of difficulty coping with YouTube success, and some of them end up, especially younger ones, might end up having a bit of an ego problem. Might run away with them, get the better of them. It's hard to say, but I guess it depends on. It's got to depend somewhat on who you are, right? It can't surely can't be it can't be a correlation of one between power slash fame slash wealth and being a complete scumbag. So I wanna ask him more about that. Am I gonna pull an all nighter? No, I don't think so. I wasn't really even planning on live streaming tonight, but having watched that AA Ron interview, I was prompted to think out, talk out, discuss some of the ideas brought up in that interview. Of course, the specific. Okay, hold on. I just got distracted by Putty Cat's thing. Israel bombed Iran. Well, I'm not worried about Israel bombing Iran starting World War III because Iran doesn't have any nuclear weapons. Truth or dare? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, truth. Do I have the joy, 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 joy down in my heart? Yes. I also wanted to let everybody know I went to the doctor today. I got back, I had some testing done. And he said, the results are in. I'm too legit to quit. Okay, G. The nation state of Israel is responsible for its behavior, not some religion, nor some, platonic form of individuals of that religion. It's inappropriately framed that way. I don't like it when people engage in wicked framing of things, namely groupist shit that tries to reduce the individual's need to treat every individual as an individual, not as you understand their group, right? So I don't like that stuff. However, celebrities, on the other hand, are terrible. But see, that's the thing. Surely not all of them are terrible. I just wonder if, in fact, you kind of in Hollywood end up being either a perpetrator or if you're not a victim. If that's the case, that's pretty horrible reality. Yeah, game one of the World Series was very entertaining. Very, very good game. And it had a great finish for the fans of Dodger Stadium, for Freddie Freeman. It's exciting. But I believe and hope that this game will go 6 or 7 games. This series will go 6 or 7 games, not 4 or 5. It seems like it's a very close matchup. Good day, Jason Kerr. My wife is amazing. You're right. Your opinion is correct about that AI hologram, man. She's an amazing woman. And sometimes the people of the world are lucky enough to enjoy her in front of the camera instead of me. And, obviously when she is in front of the camera, there's just shit tons of thirsty men, like, saying various things to her. Either just flirty or, sometimes people come in and just objectify her immediately and just get super crass or body shame or, which is like not even accurate about her. Yeah, I did cheat on a partner when I was like 18 years old, I think, 19 maybe. And I'd never do it again. It's one of my greatest regrets in life. And I feel, I still to this day, as recently as today, I said, I hate myself upon thinking about that reality. So, I mean, it's continual, happening all the time. Another interesting topic of you got your neighbor's dog Prager's. I don't think you can do that. I don't think your man seed is good enough to impregnate dog ovum. Not good enough, just for a dog's purposes, good enough. It's not dog-like enough. You need dog seed, not man seed, to impregnate a dog. Just like, our cat has AIDS. But fortunately, he has cat AIDS. And we can't catch cat AIDS because we aren't cats. You learn something new every day, huh? Yes, it's true. People cannot catch cat AIDS. And no, we don't know how he contracted cat AIDS. He's remained pretty mum about his past before he joined our family. But whatever you imagine the worst to be, probably that. Because he's a real scoundrel. He's a real up to no good. Rachel is obsessed with Great Gatsby. She was listening to literary analysis YouTube video on The Great Gatsby. I could hear it through her headphones. It's like, and it's this scene where Gatsby, not because Mia, but because Mia didn't enjoy the party. Well, now he's a neuter Pody Cat. So, I guess you could say he's a, what else do they call those? What else do they call neuters? There's another word for it. No, that's fine. A eunuch, thank you, Sean. The other word for it was eunuch. Yeah, but before he was a eunuch, we don't know. We don't know what he was, right? It's hard to tell because once you're a eunuch, then whatever expression of sexuality you may have had kind of goes away because you don't have any more balls. These strangers came up and grabbed him and put him in a van. Kidnapped him and took him away to some local animal hospital and castrated him and then put him back. Well, I mean, I just think it makes you not want to have sex in any capacity, because obviously your sex drive comes from your balls, or as they say in science, your nuts. It tends to make people gain weight. I know that at least that's how they're portrayed in the movies as gaining weight. I do have a personality. There is testosterone therapy, but I'm not sure it works with cats. Well, thanks, Anthony. No, no, no. Nobody's cutting out their own balls. Our cat got his balls cut off by animal control. They would catch stray cats, and instead of like euthanizing them, they'd spay or neuter them and put them back. So I'm sure if they had asked Trouble, do you want to have your balls cut off? He would have said no. He would have said, I don't want you to catch me in the first place. I should never have gone into this trap. Yeah, animal control, they're the Nazis of the animal world. They're like Scientologists of the animal world. They do all kinds of shady things, like roll up on people and kidnap them and take them away for brainwashing or neutering. Yet a third word for neuter is castrato, but that's a specific kind of neutered male or eunuch because they're neutered specifically for their high voice, their good boy voices, so that it doesn't change, which is pretty horrible. It's like, hey, maybe my voice would have been great after it changed too. Why? Why would you want to cut off my balls to make it stay the same forever? Crypto Fugazi. The fuck is going on in here? All kinds of fun stuff, Crypto Fugazi. We're discussing subjects, reading the chat, responding to the chat, many different things. The Great Gatsby movie, free on YouTube. Right. So, like the guy who A. Ron was interviewing was making the point that it's a good idea generally to separate art from artist, and that nobody's saying you shouldn't enjoy movies by Leonardo DiCaprio, even if you know he's a complete fucking shitbag, I find that's only true in some media and not others. I don't think I can watch something with Kevin Spacey in it without thinking about what a shitbag he is. There are raccoons at your door? Just bring them some leftovers and send them on their way. My butt makes noise because it goes far pop, yam, 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 yam. My butt makes noise. So, that's another thing I want to ask this guy about. If he says, yo, you can interview me, then I'll be all like, bro. So, do you experience any exceptions to that where even though you might in abstract say we ought to separate the art from the artist, where you personally can't just because you know they're such a shitbag? Why would you do that, Sean? Why would you kill a raccoon? That's horrible. I get that there's sometimes a problem or whatever, but don't be a murderer. Okay, sure, I get it. Killing a raccoon does not qualify as murder. But it makes me sad to think about. I ate 2 cans of baked beans earlier today and it feels like my colostomy bag is going to blow up. Well, that's absolutely disgusting. Oh, well, okay, well, if they were killing your kittens, then turnabout's fair play, I guess. We have raccoons around here, but I don't worry about them. They do try to get in the trash. I just come and shoo them away. Go away, you trash getters. We don't want you to get any trash. Yeah, I live in Cali. We live in Mariposa County, California. Have you heard of Chris Langan's CTMU? No, I've never heard of that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about confounding variables and Simpson's paradox. I don't think that what I was talking about then has anything to do with that Simpson's paradox. I think it was just you had two correlations that both agreed with like they both had statistically significant linkages to throat cancer, smoking and drinking that turned out to be unrelated to the cause of it, right? But that had nothing to do with that paradox. But uh, second of all, confounding variables. The idea of confounding variables in general is a very good idea, and that part, which they call equivalent things in Simpson's paradox. Simpson's paradox is like how you take two baseball players, one of them might have the higher average for 3 consecutive seasons, while the other one have the higher average when you combine them all. And the reason one or the other of those stats might be misleading, you'd probably say the first one is misleading, is because the skewed number of at bats. So let's say player B hits 300 in season 2 and has a shit ton of at bats. Player A hits 305 in season 2 but has few at bats, and then the other seasons, like let's say they both are close but much lower in terms of number and having an equivalent amount of at bats or something. They equal. So even if they do equal out in total number of at bats, because the weighting is skewed in favor of the higher or lower number because of number of at bats, it can work out that way. Where player A has the better batting average seasons 1, 2, and 3, but player B has the better batting average when you put them all together. It wouldn't be total runs. It would be batting average. So you have at bats and hits. So if I have like 100 at bats in one season and I have 30 hits, that's hitting 300. They could be hits of any kind. Single, double, and the Simpsons have nothing to do with it. I looked that up as well. It's named after a mathematician named Simpson who first made the observation of this phenomenon in the 50s. There are some people who try to say that, or at least one person mentioned by Wikipedia, who tries to say that actually it's not a fallacy, and it's not even a paradox. It's just different valid ways of framing the same information. But there aren't both valid ways of framing the same information, because that forgetting that you always frame the information in the service of a certain argument, and whether or not it actually whether or not, like, what sustains, because Simpson's paradox, or what I would call it as Simpson's fallacy, is a rebuttal to using Simpson's fallacy to justify a given argument that needs justification from something like that, is that that wins the argument chain at that point. And so that's why it's a fallacy, not a paradox, because the only way you can counter that rebuttal is by saying, no, you've mischaracterized my thing as an example of that thing. You can't counter it by saying examples of that thing don't falsify. So pretty good stuff. That person is wrong who said that, but it's just because he doesn't understand he doesn't understand the mechanics of using things in arguments. And this is why so many people are wrong with so many things. Good night, regular, says Sean. Good night. Trump's pretty terrible, and Kamala's also pretty terrible. In fact, they're both incredibly terrible. Nobody should vote for either of them. I was very much looking forward to a candidate I could vote for after Biden dropped out. I thought, oh, cool, I'll learn a few things about Kamala. She's got to be, she's got to be better than Biden or Trump. No, she's just as horrible. Just catastrophically bad, just like Trump is. Oh, yeah, she is, for sure. She's got wildly ill-advised plans that'll ruin the economy. Who knows if she can actually get those implemented? She makes counterfactual statements in her advertisements. She doesn't think that words like she's got this kind of bullshit non-intuitive understanding of the world that says all arguments are equal. It doesn't matter what kind of words they use to persuade people. It's all justified. Trump's an idiot. I don't think he's quite as cynical as Kamala is, but whatever. I'm not going to argue with you about it. Reagan was terrible. You want to blame Reagan for our problems? Come on. Like, the most prosperous the country's been in a long time was under Clinton, in terms of real buying power, in terms of running a surplus, etc. That happened after Reagan. So whatever Reagan's harm, they couldn't have been that lasting, right? I'm not misinformed, but that's fine. I don't want to argue with you. I'm very well informed. So I recognize that Trump's authoritarian streak is a genuine threat to a free and civil society, and I recognize that Kamala's communist streak is a genuine threat to a free and civil society, and we should all acknowledge both of those things, because never do either of those things manifest without authoritarianism, right? Obviously, Trump's is more just like straight up authoritarianism because it's me, but Kamala's like authoritarianism of the majority, to continue to try to harm certain parties, certain groups, instead of actually solving problems. So it's not going to solve any economic problems to tax the rich more. It's ridiculous. Certainly not increase the income tax on the highest earners, because remember, people who pay income tax are not the richest people. That's not where their wealth is. They're not earning a salary or wages, obviously. Well, I don't want to argue these things with everybody here, because people are very passionate and ideological about a lot of these things, and I'm correct. I don't want to have a debate with anybody about this. I am not unwilling to correct you, but you're unwilling to learn. For the reason I articulated. Trump is like a cult of personality authoritarian. Kamala is like a communist, right? They both invariably, without exception, manifest as authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is bad. It is anathema to a free and civil society. Okay, well, I don't think we should dignify a process that asks us to choose between two wildly subpar options. Even if you think like Kamala is clearly better than Trump, you shouldn't think she's good. If you think she's good, then your bar is set way, way, way too low for what qualifies as a legitimate candidate. Re-elect Carter. Well, because she would legitimately say that that's not changing taxes, that's going after people who don't pay the taxes they're supposed to pay, right? She didn't say she's going to lower taxes on the middle class, and trying to collect unpaid taxes that people somehow manage to not pay is technically not increasing taxes on the middle class. But that is indicative of how disingenuous she is, right? Like it, there's a spirit to the meaning of things as well as the letter of the meaning of it, and people need to adhere to both. She's very dishonest. Trump is, I think, basically too stupid to be dishonest. He's just like he believes all of the incredibly bullshit garbage that spews from his mouth. So obviously, we should never be satisfied with somebody as cynical as Kamala or as stupid as Trump. And so no matter if you are going to vote, fine. But make sure you frame it that way, that I am voting the lesser of two evils. Do not try to convince anybody that either of these candidates is adequate for any conceivable universe in which a United States president is chosen in this election. So, truth may hurt, but deal with it. We're all better off if we don't dignify this process with lip service that one of these candidates is actually worth voting for. Like I said, if you're going to vote against somebody because they're a little bit less bad than the other one, fine. But frame it like that. Don't pretend otherwise. I'm not going to vote at all because I'm a responsible American citizen who recognizes the fact that I'm not going to choose either of these fucktards, nor am I going to dignify this electoral process that presents us with these two choices by going to the polls and voting at all. I haven't voted in a while because I've been disgusted with the whole thing. I don't believe in its efficacy because people pick the wrong people for the wrong reasons. Sure, I might pick the right people for the right reasons, but I can't pick the right people unless there are right people to pick. A responsible American would eat some dry spaghetti. I used to eat dry spaghetti. Can I make it clap and jiggle? Not at the moment because I have copy in my hands. Hi, Mason Wade. I mean, that's not true. Hong Kong sports. But it is the case that Republicans have, during the Biden administration, pushed back on Ukraine. I think mostly just because it's something to push back on. I don't know. So maybe you're right. I don't understand why anybody should side with authoritarians in any instance when we are America and we know what's going on. What am I doing? I am staying still until Kiyoshi finishes edging to me. Kiyoshi, just obviously use both hands to edge rather than using both hands to type, okay? You're obviously not trying to finish badly enough if you're typing words into the chat. Am I okay? Yeah, I'm fine. How are you? Anywho, obviously I'm frustrated by the state of political discourse in the United States right now, and the fact that it's possible to end up with a general election with these candidates. Well, Willie Mackett, I lost a lot of these teeth for a lot of different reasons, but regardless, as of a few years ago, I actually had basically all my teeth, as of like 3 years ago. And then I had a bunch of problems. So, and yeah, sure, maybe the meth smoking did have something to do with it. I did spend quite a bit of time smoking meth in the early 2000s. Amazingly, well, I don't feel sick. So, there you have it. Are you a doctor? Do you look at people and say, just by looking at them, you look sick? Or are you just prone to telling people that because it's like, I don't know, concern trolling? I quit smoking meth many, many years ago, Willie Mackett. Didn't have my teeth problems till many years after I quit smoking meth. I don't want dentures. I am going to get my teeth fixed. This upcoming fall. It's on my agenda of things to do. After I pay the property taxes, stuff like that. Okay, well, Willie Mackett, you're obviously just trying to insult me. So, the thing is, what I'm sensing and pretty sure about it is you're just a liar. And that's, of course, the mechanism of trolling. I'm 53. So I'll just type you. It's going pretty good, Stoner's Code. Sick as in cool as fuck, that would be fine, yeah. I am sick in that fashion. After this YouTube game kicks in. I'm not sure what game that is. What am I supposed to do? Throw something? What's my favorite food? I don't really have a favorite food. Depends on the meal. I really like a specific dish or a specific meal at Sportsman's Cafe, which is called corned beef hash and eggs with toast and hash browns. You want to go outside, Kitty? That's my favorite go-to restaurant dish, but I don't know. How do I turn those lights on? I still don't know what all the light switches in my house do. There. Now, I have the lights on. Okay. I like to pace around, you see. This allows me to pace a little bit better. Do I play drums? I don't really play drums. Dry spaghetti is good. I've eaten plenty of dry spaghetti in my life, but not exactly recently. I do actually remember the gas lines in the 70s. Of course, I was a little kid, but I remember my parents putting me in the back of the car in my pajamas and driving us down to the gas station to wait in line. I have one memory of that. So, I guess it was probably like 6 years old or something. I was born in 71. Yeah, I'm having coffee. I have one kid. She lives in Los Angeles, which is about 5 hours from here. She's 26. I totally need to check my email. I've got multiple things potentially en route in my email. I just need to deal with it. Time to stop being avoidant and deal with it. Do a line or wait in a line? Well, I have the choice. I'd pick the former, obviously. I'm not fond of waiting in line. Most people aren't. But I don't really do lines anymore. I'm a little too old for that stuff. No, don't suck dicks, actually. I'm on my third woman wife. Third and final. I've got well, I guess you have to call her a hot younger wife. She's 39. So for a 53-year-old, comparatively, that is young. Yeah, Rachel there is the woman wife. Did you watch Trump on Rogan? No, I did not. I did watch Dale Wheatley on growing up Scientology. Do you know how to fight? No, I'm not a fighter. I'm not a fighter. I'm a talker and, of course, a lover. If I were to try to get into a fist fight with somebody, I'm sure they would punch me in the face and I would say, "Hey, what are you doing? You punched me in the face." And they'd be like, "What you gonna do about it?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, obviously I'm gonna complain about it, seek remedy of some sort, either financial or criminal, because I didn't obviously want to be punched in the face." Yes, I'm 53. How old are you, Mason? Is this love for connecting? I don't know what that means, Ingrid Murphy. I could say yes, though. So happy I found the head cleaner cassette and got my VCR fixed, bro. Why, do you have a lot of VCR tapes? Ah, well, oh, is this live about connecting? I mean, I do read the chat and respond to it. I don't know if you call it being about connecting. It's about whatever ends up being talked about. Since most of the topic directionality comes from things people say in the chat. But it starts off with a given topic, which tonight was corruption, the way the power corrupts. All this Hollywood stuff with these talk super abusive, evil celebrities. Well, San Pedro 92 says Trump 2024. I had somebody come in here earlier and say Harris. Yeah. As I say, neither, please. It's raw and beautiful. Okay, congratulations, Mason Wade. I heard you. You're 18. I guess that means you're a legal adult. I don't know what kind of adult things you can still do at 18, though. Or you can vote. That's what you can do. You can't drink. You can't smoke in California anyway. I don't know about other states, but you can't gamble. But you can vote and you can be in the military. Did you fill out your draft card? Hi, it's Grayson13. How's it going? Rate your rap skills? Are you going to rap in the chat? In the city where the demons lurk, I'm a sniper on the hustle, while soulless dreams clash with ruthless failure. It's a lot of S's and F's in there. Got me feeling like a puzzle homie. Every shuffle in this game's a hit. I'm defiant. Never fell stunting with my hitters sipping Henny. Empty heart, but I'll rebel. Aye. Well, I mean, I don't like it, but that's just me. Mason Wade, you know what? You're not going to bust anybody's mouth. And you don't need to be so aggressive. I just think that the whole I'm so tough thing is kind of like played out. But that's me. Maybe it's kind of archetypal classic to the genre. It's like that song, I like rap music. I like to listen to it. I like to put it in the car as I go down the street. I like to hear the MCs talking about how they're better than the other MCs and more clever. Well, Grayson 13, I mean, unlike you, I didn't ask for your opinion. You asked for my opinion, though. Who is weirder, the man that sits to piss or the man who watches? I don't know. I sit to pee all the time. I don't know how weird I am. I just feel more comfortable sitting down. Also, the toilet. I'm 6'5", so I've learned over the years that many toilets are very far down from me, and I might miss to a certain extent. You know, the man who holds it for another man. Like something the aristocrats in England would have. You know, a penis holder for going pee. Sometimes I use the sink. Depends on my mood, but mostly I sit down. Does it grip, bro? I don't know what that means. Would you like to explain it? Because I don't know what you mean. I don't know what it is, and I'm not sure what you mean by grip. Another thing I have that grips things are my hands. Am I lazy? Intermittently, yeah. Okay, well, it's Grayson 13. Don't use any electric razors unless they specifically are for shaving your nether regions. Have I ever seen the comedy Being There? It sounds familiar. A Japanese ninja sword. Anthony, not sure. I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. I'm a confused old man who doesn't know any better. These youngsters are taking advantage of a confused old man who doesn't know any better. We should stop them. Some people actually think that when they first come here before they realize that obviously it's not effective. Trolling me is not effective. In this platform where I'm live streaming. It might be effective in some other capacity. Like if I were, say, on a stage debating somebody. Well, glad to hear it. All these dumbass commercials, just stop already. It's halftime. Okay, here, let's go. There. Now we're in the second half. USC is up 28-12. I have I'm a good hour ahead of the game, so I can put it on double time and skip ahead through commercials and stuff. Now I need to use the other meow to bring up the other meow. As per meow. There we go. Who won the first World Series game? It was the Dodgers in the bottom of the 10th inning on a walk-off grand slam with 2 out. Down by 1 run. The Dodgers. Freddie Freeman walks it off with a grand slam. It was a very great, exciting game. Very, very fun. Lived up to the hopes. You know, I would like to see the whole series be tight like that. Every game close, and then it goes 7 games. Even though I'm rooting for the Dodgers. Rachel, my wife, is a Yankees fan, so either way, the house is going to have a winner in it, and that's fine. You had to step away after the 9th? Oh, that's unfortunate. It's bad time to have to walk away from it. Mason Wade says, what? Well, we were talking about the baseball game. Marital bliss. Yes, I have marital bliss. because we aren't, neither of us is competitive, you know. If the Yankees had won, I would have congratulated her team, you know. And I believe it. I don't exactly remember him. It would be very much most consistent with how she is if she congratulated. She probably congratulated me after the Dodgers won. So I don't actually remember. That's her kind of jam, though. Payback in the bedroom. Rachel and I have a wonderful marriage in all aspects. In the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the kitchen. Four out of 4 stars in his original print review. Gene Siskel also gave the film a perfect grade of 4 stars, calling it one of those rare films, a work of such electric comedy that you are more likely to watch it in amazement than to break down and laugh. We don't have any chandeliers. Okay. Well, I guess I am recalling you saying what a good game it was then. Regardless, I wouldn't have been upset if the Yankees won, except for maybe a minute where it's like, oh, well, hopefully they come back tomorrow, you know. Being there is a classic, agrees White Cliff. So, show media, you have a second. We're in California. We're not rich, but we're not struggling, you know. Yeah, I'm sure I'm 53. I know my own age, Mason. Are you sure you're 18? Am I disabled? Or is Mason Wade disabled? I'm not disabled. Mason Wade, I'm not sure about. His he does have kind of a dumb affect, but I wouldn't say that there's anything to suggest he's disabled, mentally anyway. And obviously, we don't have any indication of that regarding physical disabilities either. So, I would say, even if he is disabled, there's no reason to accuse him of being disabled. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but accordingly, I think you're just purposefully being shitty. Oh, I see. You were talking about me, Grambo. Okay, well, if you've been around before, you know that insulting my wife gets you hidden. You disable. What do I disable? Do I disable the alarm before entering the building? I respect you and what you're doing. I want to subscribe? Maybe. If you want to, you could. Maybe. I don't indicate to people whether they should subscribe. Usually I never say like the video even, but sometimes I'll read things that say somebody else in the chat saying, don't forget to like the video. I'll read that out loud and say, yeah, if you want to like the video, like it. But I don't typically I don't typically do calls to action. So I also don't tell people to donate to me or anything like that. So there you have it. Yeah, I don't care about that. I've given up on that at this point. There were times maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago when I had hopes and dreams regarding the channel and maybe going somewhere and becoming successful, but it's just so much at the mercy of YouTube's algorithm stuff, and I don't want to change what I'm doing. I just want to be more successful at what I'm doing naturally all the time anyway. So accordingly, I gotta just take what I get, and that's all there is to it. Because even if I wanted to succeed more, then that means the natural thing to say to me is, don't tell people to like and subscribe more, make better content, right? But I don't really feel like making better content. I like to live stream. It's time to go home to mama. My mama's dead, show media, and Mason Wade's mama doesn't want him home. She wants him to stay away. She's having a few guys over later. For real. I like to do this to not make sure I don't lock my knees. Make sure I'm not in like one standing position too long, one sitting position too long, because I can sometimes be guilty of that. I keep my mother in the garage. I keep my father there too, because they're both urns full of ashes. Isn't that romantic? Okay, well, I'm glad you're not with her then. That's good. I'm glad you no longer have to suffer abuse at the hands of another and now go around attempting to dole it out to other people instead. I'm not sure that's actually better, but it's fine. At least in this context, you're trying to be abusive to somebody who ought to expect it and is prepared to deal with it without, triggering me or whatever. So that's fine. I'm assuming it's head, right? In between bell and width. Well, that's pretty depressing. I'm not sure I believe you at all, but it's depressing even if you're just trolling. So, I don't really like depressing things very much. Of course, this whole topic is frankly that I started the live stream with is a depressing enough topic. The more I learn about all of these horrible people doing these horrible things to innocent victims and getting away with it for years, it's just appalling. We've got to look out for each other a little bit more than that. And circumstances in which the cops were abjectly unhelpful and sometimes even in collusion with the perpetrators is horrific. Oh, Anthony, I didn't think you were trolling. I think Mason might be. He's partially deaf, partially blind, partially mute, and partially kind. So take it easy on him. I'm not deaf, but I am sometimes fake deaf. Choir boy. I was a choir boy. And no, I never got abused in any way by the choir people. It was a perfectly normal, regular choir. Mason Wade says, Anthony, don't fucking play with me. You don't want him to play with you? Do you want to be stuck playing over here all alone? Go try it. Try playing with Anthony. Maybe you'll make friends. Yeah, it's true. A lot of concert goers get tinnitus. That's why I always wear ear protection to every concert I go to. I still manage to have kind of a little bit of tinnitus in my right ear, but overall my hearing's still pretty good. I'd say my hearing's better than my eyes. Oh, he's bullying you, huh? I don't think he's bullying you at all. Anthony was also a choir boy decades ago, but nothing church related at all. Mine also was not church related. It was a secular Pasadena boys choir. What boys choir were you in? Or was it like a school choir? Special raves and the like where people like to stick their heads in a speaker. Yeah, well, that's not good for your ears, obviously. You should avoid doing that. You should say, Anthony, I'm so very sorry for being aggressive with you. And I hope in the future you will someday come to forgive me for my bad behavior. Good job, USC. Good job, number 6. That's a big play. But what was a bigger lead is now down to 8 points where I am in the game, which is not all the way caught up. All right, let's go. We need a touchdown here. Oh, that's not a touchdown. Let's try again. 2nd and goal. And we will see what happens. Chess, checkers, or backgammon? I would say chess. Those are the 3 choices. It was a professional choir that performed with orchestras everywhere. Oh, so you were like an adult choir person. I was in the Pasadena Boys Choir, which is just kids from like 7 or 8 years old to like 13. But it was good. It got me, it was my first foray into music other than just singing songs by myself, walking around. And they were kind of like, you better be pitched correctly or you're going to get a stern one of these or one of these, So it made me be more rigorous about pitch than I probably otherwise would have been. And that's one to grow on. But they also, like at summer camp and at spring camp, because there were 2 camps each year. There was spring camp of Big Bear for a week. There was summer camp for 2 weeks. And they did you could take recorder classes, learn to play the recorder, music theory. You had some choices and mostly the choir practice, but you also got to choose between a couple of other things. You had to take one of them or something. I never really did. I think I took something. I guess I might have taken the music theory one. I'm not sure. Maybe some years I didn't take anything. I just did the practices. But I went on later to play the guitar, and I didn't start till I was 21, but I got pretty good at it. And I've been playing guitar for a long time. What race have you transitioned into today? Oh, today I'm Brazilian, but native Brazilian, not Spaniard Brazilian. My name starts with an X and ends with a hodl. Oh, yeah, I play guitar on live sometimes. I'll do it right now. Mason Wade says, go to bed. Well, thanks for the suggestion, Mason. I really appreciate your insight and input. So, thanks a lot. Oh, maybe, I guess that's what it is. I guess it's Mayan. I thought it was, I said native Brazilian because I guess it's one of the southern parts of the Mayan Empire. Those were my people that I came from. Deep in the Amazon jungle. In fact, until I was about 8 years old, I was being raised by my native Amazonian tribesmen in a primitive village deep in the jungle that we had never even heard of civilization. And one day I'm like, hey, why am I so much more light skinned than all the rest of you and so much taller and stuff? Except I said it in their native language. And they were all like, oh, well, you fell out of a plane that a missionary was flying over. And I was like, how do you know it was a plane and that it was a missionary? They're like, we don't, but you'll figure that out once you get back to civilization and learn about these things. And I said, fine. And that's the story of how I came to be in America. This is my season. This is my season. Oh, it's my season. It's the season of holidays. Soon is Halloween and Thanksgiving. Then I'll go to Christmas Day. If you like to explain holidays to foreigners. No, not like that? Oh, my bad. All right, I'm going to play a song. I was just making that up. That's not actually a song. I will play instead. I'll play Cloudy Day in Los Angeles. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Troubles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Will someone buy us some more time? Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I have something to say. Life can strangely be forgiving to those who stay awake all night. And mostly voices say to give in. They'll try to sap your will goodbye. Or whether I'm supposed to be here or just be simply forgotten noise is sort of based on what I see here and also on what I avoid. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Struggles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Someone buy us some more time. Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I have something to say. There's something to say. It's fine. Mason, you can tell me this stuff, but I'm obviously not going to. He didn't spam it too much, so whatever. He's entitled to his opinion. The volume was too low on the guitar or my voice? If it was too low on my voice, I'll turn the guitar down. It felt like the guitar was probably a little high for me, but I'm standing a lot closer to the mic than the guitar is, so I figured it might be about even. But which one do you want more of? Because if you want the vocals louder, I can step forward. If you want both louder, I can step forward and turn up the guitar. I wasn't sure when it's gonna clip, you know. All right, cool. Then I'll step a little closer. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get the margarine tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what to call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to return to the work he left rough. He'd get back to it eventually, but his visions piled up and his plans would interrupt all the work that started off so hopefully. Now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing factless to listless. So how all the people would shout his name. And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly now. He won't provide explanation regarding the why or the how. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Exciting, delighting, Gerald plays his part. But Gerald still knew there's too much to do, and he had dropped time in the under. Too much to rebut, to where now and what. Too much time spent nitpicking the skew with you. Now Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get the margarine's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what to call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a thought. Thanks. I think I'll put the guitar away now. Shoulder. Tweaked my shoulder a little bit there for some reason. Somehow, I don't know how. Mystery problem of some sort. Rachel and I perform together. Usually when we perform in public anyway. I mean, we'll perform together on live stream sometimes too, but most of the time, if we're going to play at an open mic, we'll play it together. Like, Cloudy Day in Los Angeles, the song before that one, has mostly Rachel as a singer, normally. We're getting old. I tweaked my back while sleeping. Original YouTube creator. Don't forget to publish the live streams that you perform on. I publish them. I do. I publish all my live streams. I mean, every once in a while I take one down if it's like, if it has some kind of, like if something gets age restricted, I might, because I'm concerned that that might impact how YouTube deals with me. Is that another touchdown right there? Yeah, it is. Good job, Makai Lemon. It's 41-20 now, USC. At the end of the third quarter. It's not actually the real time of the game. It's later. Power itself is corruption. Well, I mean, Manu John, that's the thing. It's like we can talk about plenty of people who have fame, power, wealth, and who are corrupted by it, or corrupt regardless of where they were corrupted by it. But we can also identify individuals who had any of those three things, but were not corrupted by it. Yes, you can ask me a question. 1984. And so I generally tend to delete age-restricted videos because I'm afraid that having age-restricted videos on the channel will impact my videos going forward. Right. I don't watch my own streams anymore at all. I don't really watch my own content as very much. If I spend time making a video, like the long form video, spend a lot of time editing and stuff, then I'll watch that a couple of times. But I don't I don't spend much time watching my own content anymore. Well, I mean, both Trump and Harris are terrible. We've gone over this already. If you want to suggest voting for Harris because she's less terrible than Trump, that's fine. Vice versa is fine. But let's not fool ourselves that either of these people is competent to be president. Power itself is corruption, which is why only few people have power to corrupt. Okay. Peace, love, in America. I agree. I'm a patriotic American. That's why I'm not some kind of like highly partisan person. I try to be dispassionate about political considerations. But what tends to make me passionate is I'm passionate about having good political discourse, and I don't see much of any such thing going on in any place. No, I'm not going to watch it, G. Obviously. The whole thing's depressing. Who is powerful? Well, there are a lot of people with power. Yeah, I'm not a fan of autocracy either. The thing is, you're gonna get authoritarianism either way, through the sort of stark autocracy of Trump or through the communist bullshittery of Harris. Either way, both pathways lead only towards authoritarianism. We just have to hope that the habits and institutions of democracy and the checks and balances thereof are sufficient to rein in their wickedness. Because both those individuals are wicked. They don't care about the truth adequately. Trump, because he's an idiot and is incapable of understanding. Harris, because she's cynical and doesn't think it matters. I think all arguments are equal. You just go with whatever your feelings are, I guess. They're just both fucking nightmares. I mean, I miss real both, right? I miss real both. Because it's like the edges of both sides used to be much more towards the center and much less vitriolic in their discourse. At some point, parties tried to exploit the most passionate and least deliberative of their constituents of the party. They tried to exploit that for temporary gains, but it was at the expense of the well-being of the democracy as a whole, because those are the people who should at least be making decisions about which person the party represents. Unfortunately, it's like I guess it must be boiled down to this: you raise more money making people mad than providing actual solutions. Oh, I mean, I'm with you 100%. It's not a hopeless view at all. I plan to run for president next time it comes around. I need to get my teeth. I'm going to do a variety of things here in the interim, but I do plan to run for president and be correct about everything. I mean, she's just overtly lying in her advertisements, at least here in California. I think it's interesting that she's running so many ads here. She apparently doesn't think she has it locked up. It would seem to me that the Democrat always has California locked up, and then it's a winner take all state. So, there's not really any reason for me to vote in California, given that I think Harris is going to take it easy, and it's not proportional in its electoral college votes. Well, this is my thinking, Dario Mendoza, is that Trump may be too stupid to know he's lying. Harris may be too non-intuitive to think it matters. But regardless, in some sense, they're both lying, yeah. Harris is not a centrist candidate. You got to be kidding me. No centrist candidate would talk about raising taxes as much as she does. Like, how in the world can anybody make the argument the federal government needs more than $4.1 trillion to do its enumerated powers? I thought you were a constitutionalist. Thanks, Dario Mendoza. I think it's actually kind of accurate, right? Because I do personality typing stuff, and I've typed Trump as ESFP, which means his blind spot is logical consistency and fairness. And I've typed Harris as ESTJ, which means her blind spot is intuition. That's not centrist. Come on. Okay, she doesn't talk about lowering tax. She talks about lowering tax for the middle class people and raising those on people making more than $400,000 a year. The thing is, if you make $400,000 a year, and you say you're the sole earner, and you work and live in New York City, that's that's as much you definitely are scraping by. So I think people have overestimated the amount of wealth that $400,000 a year qualifies as. But most importantly, and most significantly, and the only thing that really matters, you have got to be kidding me. The federal government does not need more tax revenue. If they want to spend money differently, then cut spending and spend in other ways. As it stands, we're deficit spending. There's no reason to think the federal government is a body that can responsibly use additional tax dollars. It's not a good idea. It'll just cool the economy down further, push us further into this inflation-driven recession. My vote will count. Look, my vote will count when I run for president, okay? Rather than trying to make some little bit of a small difference by voting this time for one of these two shitbags, I'm going to actually, if I were to vote, though, you don't want me to vote, because if I were to vote, I'd probably vote for Trump. I don't like either of them. But if I had to vote for one of them, I'd probably vote for Trump, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, what we need is a genuinely progressive tax system, which is a flat tax. And attempts to make progressive tax systems are fundamentally flawed and doomed, because obviously people who are better at managing money and being rich and stuff are going to be much more effective at dealing with an ever more complicated tax code that invariably gets ever more complicated, because it starts as like, let's have poor people pay less in taxes. Well, what about Joe? He makes the same money as Bob, but he's taking care of a wife and 3 kids, and Bob's not. And then they go, okay, well, let's add this exception for these things. And then now we've got, tens of thousands of pages of tax code, federal tax code. This is what happens when we attempt to have a progressive tax code. Income tax is a terrible way to tax people as well. And certainly the Social Security program is fatally flawed and has a number of problems. I'm not going to be able to solve everything as president, but I can at least articulate what the actual problems are and possible solutions that would be meaningful ways to make a dent in them. So, for example, as president, you don't have the wherewithal to make legislation happen directly. You've got to, cooperate with the legislature to make that happen. And yet people are so consumed with the president's legislative agenda. In my mind, if Harris were to say, I shouldn't be telling you a legislative agenda about taxation and stuff, that's not the job of the president, I'd respect her a shit ton more. Well, because there's no centrist who thinks we need to raise taxes. I mean, no centrist thinks the problem is the federal government isn't spending enough money. It might have been the case at some point when the federal government wasn't spending obviously way too much money. But now that it's obviously spending way too much money, it's not possible to make the argument that it's a center position to raise taxes. It's just not. It's insane. Maybe in like maybe before like the 60s or something, because no matter what the tax rate was in the 50s, and people talk about how there was a high top tax rate, the federal government didn't actually collect the taxes with a punishment thing regularly for regular citizens until late 50s, maybe. I don't know exactly when it was, but by and large, if you didn't pay, it was kind of like honor system, right? Like you pay what you decide to pay and say that's what that percentage of your income. I don't think they had all that centralized reporting stuff until sometime after that. Anyway, I could be wrong about that. I need to double check my facts there. Trump is far right autocrat. Well, he's not a fascist, okay? I wouldn't even call him far right. I'd call him an autocratic populist. And he's definitely autocratic and moving toward he's definitely moving in the direction of totalitarianism and authoritarianism. But you're just not like treating as equal other kinds of authoritarianism. So it's absolutely the case that when the majority targets a minority group for basically persecution, as she's targeting the rich, like the solution to an economic downturn is not to make the prosperous people less prosperous. That's not going to help. That just makes everybody lower. It doesn't raise the lower people up. There's no way to force that, to artificially force that with tax and spend policies, especially given that there are many reasons why, right? The only kind of redistribution that actually is effective is if you take tax dollars and cut a direct check to every American of equal amount. So then the people who pay more taxes will get a check that's much smaller than they paid. People who pay less in taxes will get a check that's maybe even bigger than they paid, but everyone will get the same check. That's actually economy stimulating and meaningful actual redistribution. But those are not the policies that people are advocating for. And the kind of policies that people advocate for are things that include things like means testing, which has multiple harms, including incentivizing poverty, and kind benefits, which have multiple harms to various legitimate markets and other sorts of harms. So there's there is an example of a social program that is, except for the means testing part, pretty effective, comparatively effective, is food stamps, because it doesn't involve any in-kind benefits, and it's as close to a direct redistribution of money as you can get without actually having a direct redistribution of money. But because there's mean testing behind it, it always incentivizes poverty. And in the same way that like income tax brackets incentivize keeping a salary just below the next tax bracket, right? Because you'll end up keeping more money. Yeah, it is really easy for the rich to get out of taxes because money that you already have shouldn't be taxed, and that's the reality that people don't get, right? If they're going to tax money that people earn or corporations earn, fine, let them do so. But the reason corporations' income tax is only like 15% is because all the people who make salaries in that corporation then have to pay income tax on that too. So it's really the money gets taxed twice, or at least one and a half times. How are you doing? I'm watching live from Cleveland, TN, because obviously the salaries don't count as, subtract from their profit, right? So I get that. They're not paying tax on the money they're paying in salaries, but okay, I guess in that instance, it's not really tax twice in any meaningful sense. Hello, Tel Aviv, Israel. Oscar de la Yenta, is that the Israeli Oscar de la Hoya? Well, I mean, you have to have enough money to have a dedicated professional do that shit for you. But the thing to remember also is once you have money and you're keeping it, it doesn't get taxed. There's no fair, decent way to tax that money. You've already been taxed when you earned it. Now you shouldn't get taxed again for keeping it, right? So the problem is we have various attempts to circumvent that, like a capital gains tax. If I just spend my money on whatever, a fancy car, I'm not going to pay any more tax on that income except sales tax. But if I invest in something and make a profit, I'm going to have to pay taxes again on that new money of an additional whatever percentage, depending on, I don't remember what the percentage is right now. But regardless, that is very economy cooling. It does a lot of harms, and it makes investing much less real time responsive to market realities. And we want it to be more market realities possible than less. I do admit Trumping. I'm openly. I guess fair enough to say openly authoritarian. How can you square that being an okay option? I don't think it's an okay option. That's why I'm not voting. I don't think either option is okay. They're both fucking terrible. But if you want to say Harris is less terrible and vote for her, that's a perfectly reasonable position to have. My position is also perfectly reasonable. Especially since I plan to actually do something about it myself and at least make the attempt at it. So accordingly, I don't feel as responsible to vote perhaps as I might, and if I knew I wasn't ever going to do anything about it. Hi, Oliver Linehan. Well, unless you donate the thing, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I, like I have mentioned before, 5 minutes to review, I am definitely not voting for Trump, nor am I voting for Harris. I did say that if I had to vote for one of them at gunpoint, I think that Trump's authoritarian aspirations of dictatorhood are more likely to be successfully thwarted by checks and balances because, and also by simply the fact that he's super old. I mean, he's probably going to die shortly after the end of his term or maybe during his term. Who knows? Then I think Harris will be able to get more accomplished, and that's scary. But it's hard. It's a toss up, right? Would you rather have cancer or emphysema? You don't want either of them. Why did the cross-dressing pilots never take off? Too much drag. Buy it, $1 donate at $1 million. That's a crazy tax write-off. I'm not saying we should stop providing tax revenue for the government. I'm not even advocating tax cuts except to the capital gains tax, which is fundamentally unfair and an inhibition to upward mobility. The capital gains tax, people think are like, oh, that just hurts the rich. No, it prevents people from getting rich, from accumulating, making good investments, for having a chance at upward mobility via, um, you know, putting your money in the most promising ideas, the most promising companies, etc. Oh, that's a fair reason to root for Harris, Oliver Linehan. And that's a good reason to vote for Harris. Because Eric will have a better chance of winning a Republican primary than a Democratic one, and Kamala will be the easiest incumbent to defeat since Jimmy Carter. True enough. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Putty Cat. I advocated that as well. And that doesn't even have to result in a reduction of tax revenue. What it will result is in a huge reduction of spoilage due to bureaucracy, IRS, and due to things like, most importantly, things like H&R Block, all these tax services that make money off of make money off of how complicated taxes are. We don't need this industry of like wealth depleting tax servicing people. It's horrible. Now, it is the case that we probably want to do things to encourage. I mean, that's what cutting the capital gains tax would do, is we want to encourage companies to, instead of holding large reserves of cash, to be investing that in the market. We can't, again, it's their cash. They've earned it. They've already been taxed on it. The corporation has. But in general, I think we'd have better society in some sense if more of a corporation's profits generally went out in salaries and uh, less of it, and less the corporation functioning as this massive independent financial entity. But we can't, like I said, we can't force them to do that because they've already paid their taxes on it. But we can incentivize it, at least at the start, by getting rid of the capital gains tax. And everybody should want corporations to be as active in investing their money and doing things with money, and the least incentivized to just hold on to large cash reserves, because that's what's least beneficial to the economy, is people holding on to money in ways that are neither uh, taking any chances nor doing anything with the money, just sitting on wealth because waiting for market conditions to change or whatever, or more importantly, for tax reasons. And we don't have a poverty problem, and we don't have a greed problem. What we have is an inflation problem that stems from COVID lockdowns. And everybody who supported COVID lockdowns needs to blame themselves for that. So if you're feeling the pinch right now and you support COVID lockdowns, blame yourself. It inevitably, as I said right at the very beginning, would invariably cause massive inflation because they don't stop quantitatively easing during a lockdown, but the meaningful work that new currency is supposed to represent stops being done, hence the inflationary pressures. It's fine to infuse new currency in the economy. In fact, it's necessary to keep pace with new wealth being generated in the economy, which is metaphysical quality first. But if the work isn't being done, the wealth isn't being generated, then the currency doesn't represent anything real, and you have significant inflationary pressures. No, I'm saying we don't have those. I'm saying we neither have a poverty problem nor a greed problem. We have an inflation problem. And if you're feeling the economic pinch since, the last 5 years or so, well, it's because of COVID lockdowns for the reasons I articulated. So don't try to blame corporations. Don't try to blame rich people. Don't try to blame government, like, like as a general rule, like government's the problem. It was the lockdowns, which the vast majority of people, including I'm sure most of you, strongly supported, despite the fact that it was alarmist garbage. Most importantly, it was there was a significant problem with the order of questions. The first question should always be legitimacy. Do people have the right to get sick, to not take extraordinary measures to prevent themselves from getting sick? Absolutely they do, especially if they're not showing any signs of being sick themselves. Then there's no reason to presume that the group has any authority over their face, their movements, their body, whether they go outside or not. Just as the group has no authority over a given restaurant. Those decisions need to be made by individuals. You certainly can't quarantine people for months and years, especially the entire population. And quarantining is supposed to be done when you've got like a localized outbreak that you think you can contain. It was very obvious right from the beginning, based on what we were being told about the virus, that it was novel, that it had a long incubation period, and that it was, accordingly, because of its novelty, was incredibly contagious. We all could deduce from that there's no way you're going to successfully stop the spread of this stuff without unsustainably long and absolute quarantines that prevent people from attending to basic needs and stuff like that. And of course, that it was invariably going to be a holocaust of rights violations. That the unintended consequences were going to vastly outweigh, in negative terms, the intended consequences in terms of positive outcome. I articulated all of this right at the beginning. Okay, so now that I've been proven right, everybody needs to get off their fucking high horse regarding economic shit, because they almost certainly supported this bullshit and did not listen to me. Oh, for fuck's sake, Anthony. Right. The real issue with lockdowns is they're unconstitutional, right? The freedom of assembly doesn't come with an asterisk that says unless there's a virus. I'm not denying the capacity of government to use emergency powers potentially to temporarily suspend that, but in case of an emergency. But that's an emergency, meaning an emerging situation, something that lasts a week or two, maybe, not years, not months. Well, good for Rogan. I get it, G. I get it. Because money is not, there's not a finite amount of wealth that gets distributed among people unfairly, right? But that's fine, Anthony. You want to blame somebody rather than be honest, go for it. Blame whoever you want. I've given up trying to make people think sane things. I will try again when I'm running for president. That's why I don't even like to talk about politics at all right now. I will explain everything. I do still talk about political issues, but I don't like to argue with people, certainly not about candidates. And the problem with arguing policy matters is people generally don't argue very specific policy matters. You know, like people in favor of raising taxes on the wealthy, they're not even sure what tax advocacy they have. Unlike me, I have a very specific tax advocacy in terms of things that are actually accomplishable. I would say eliminating the capital gains tax is the best thing we could do. In terms of ideals, we would ideally we'd replace our ridiculous, insanely complicated federal tax code with consumption tax. Um, I think you could even conceivably keep a corporate income tax, you know, but because corporations would still pay the consumption tax, but I don't know, it wouldn't hurt the economy much if we still kept the existing corporate tax, got rid of the capital gains tax, which would encourage corporate investment, and switched everybody else off of income tax to a national sales tax. Okay. Well, it does have to do with the virus. I mean, the lockdowns didn't have, they were justified by this virus. But I think what happened, and I kind of get it, I think what happened is that it's a bioweapon that was engineered to cull the population by killing off the oldest and sickest and leaving the rest of the population untouched. But it was either accidentally released or purposely released, then some other well of power gained control and tried to shut it down. They knew that it was a bioweapon, but they didn't tell everybody that. That's that explains why they were so incredibly alarmist about this one, even though comparatively it wasn't any worse really than other kinds of outbreaks, unless they knew for sure that um, it were a bioweapon and all these specs of it, right? Hola, la mer. Hi, la mer. Bonjour. Bonjour. Corporate taxes and tariffs from other nations would be good to keep. Just that would generate a lot of money for the economy without without having a prohibitively high consumption tax. Yeah, okay. That's. I mean, I'm not against compromise. I'd like to just. I recognize that the best I can do if I were to win the presidency is move the country in the right direction in as many substantive ways as I can. I'm not going to solve everything. I'm only going to serve one term. So estate taxes are horrible, but they're easy to get out of with a living trust. Not everybody's that money savvy, I guess. But what I really want to see are these celebrities go down for all their shitty, horrible, abusive garbage. It's so dark and horrible. I it hurts me to pay too much attention to it even. But but it seems like, you know, various figures are starting to go down. Kevin Spacey went down, the Me Too movement, etc. I mean, the people I want to see go down most of all include Ashton Kutcher, whose two best friends are serial rapists, Danny Masterson and Diddy. And but there's a lot of horrible people. Leonardo DiCaprio, I'd love to see him go down. He's in Italy, you know, out of the country, and has a lot of wealth. So complete shitbag, obviously. You want to know where all that money came from? For whom? Like for Ashton Kutcher, he made money in the entertainment industry and did a good job of investing and made a lot of money on his investments. Did he was he able to accomplish that in part because of some leverage he had over somebody? I have no idea, but it seems like he was good enough friends with Diddy that if Diddy had such leverage over some parties, then he probably would have shared it with Ashton. Hi, Marcus Aurelius. Depp, I don't think Depp is quite as horrible of a person as some of these others. But that's what I kind of want to interview this Dale Wheatley guy about is I want to know, like, I've been kind of shocked by how broad the whole thing is. Just how many different people are, directly linked in ways that are suggestive of at least shadiness or complicitness or whatever is just right. If you suspect them, they're likely involved. If you've heard their name in relation to these things, they're if there's any smoke about them, it's probably fire. It's shocking just how much depravity and horrific abuse went on for so long. Well, I don't know if she can be blamed for doing the best in administration with a president who had dementia because that's who the voters chose. And I guess she didn't want to overstep or something. If she had talked about Biden's dementia, people would have accused her of a callous attempt at a coup or something. This isn't liberal crap. Kamala is not anybody's good graces around here. Neither is Trump, of course, because they're both terrible. But I'm a correctist. I'm neither a liberal nor a conservative, nor a moderate, nor any other thing like that. I'm a correctist, which is to say I'm correct about every specific political issue. Hi, Dreamsy Smokes Reviews. How are you? How are you doing? And what do you say? What do you go? Where do you know? Who is your name and why do you show? Trump's doing really well with black men. Well, if that's his thing, if he's into BBC, that's fine. I'm not judging. It's a little surprising. I wouldn't have expected that from Trump, but I guess he's exploring different options in his old age. What's your agenda, Eric? Correctness. Seems like a pronoun. Yeah, my pronouns are correct, right, and correct again. You had 1,200 subs. Nice. Okay, well, good for you, G. I'm not interested in getting depressed. So I'm not going to watch it. I get it. You love Trump. Good for you. Oh, you're voting, huh? Write in candidate for like, I don't know. Just make up a name. Pinky Wazelstein, something like that. Double tap the screen. Friends means liking. I think that's just on phones, obviously. If you're on your laptop, especially if you don't have a touchscreen laptop, then double tapping it will not do anything. I don't have a touchscreen laptop because why would I bother? Because I just use it as like connect by HDMI to them. Yeah. Harry Balls on You would be fine. Anita Dick and Me would be fine. Mike Hunt would be fine. Mike is everywhere would be fine. All right. I guess I'm going to wrap it up now. I want to toxic masculinity predates Trump's rise. It has nothing to do with you, Dreamsy Smokes Reviews. I'm sorry to leave right when you show up, but I'm tired. Okay, well, I'll stick around for a little while. What do you want to talk about? Anything in particular? I'm not in that much of a hurry to go. I do feel like I kind of want to resume watching Lost at some point here this evening. I'll stick around for a while. Since I'm getting some, aw, well, that's fine. I'll stick around for a while. I've been watching this show called Lost. You've probably heard of it. It was very famous back in the early 2000s when it came out. It came out around like 2004 or something. Uh, it's a really good show. It's a very written show. It's got a lot of carefully constructed narratives, multiple storylines crossing each other at odd moments and in weird ways. It took a lot of structural work to put this story together. And I don't know if they really planned how many seasons they were going to do in advance, but I know there are 6 seasons total, and they're moving through at a pace that seems like maybe they had some sense of how many seasons they might get out of it. Maybe like originally they thought they were going to get 3 seasons out of it, but then when they realized more, they started writing things a little bit more with a little bit more involved, complex storylines. I had a productive evening. I'm sorry I should have led. Don't be. Obviously. You're not dragging me down. Big Boss is racist and has a big black conqueror. He gives a cat a pat. I let both the cats outside. The last big show I watched was Breaking Bad. That was very good. But it's a show you can only watch once for sure. Saturday marked the first time Israel's military had openly attacked Iran, which hasn't faced a sustained barrage of fire from a foreign enemy since its 1980 war with Iraq. What are your thoughts on Stranger Things? I thought it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. But You know what's an even better show than that? There's a show called Future Man. And it's got, grown up now, the the guy who played the kid in The Sixth Sense. He's the main character in Future Man. That's a hilarious show, fantastic show. I strongly recommend it to anybody. I mean, I'm not sure what that would be like, but everybody should try to love their own body as best they can, you know? Are you feeling as though your attempts at trolling are accomplishing the result you'd like to accomplish, Big Boss? Marcus Aurelius says, I liked Stranger Things myself, but I felt like I was still stuck on being a teenager, which I didn't really like to be after high school anymore. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was set in a time when I was that old, so I do I did relate to it in that regard. I thought they did a good job of dealing with the like time casting, which is like costumes and other things that were associated with the time. Okay, well then, this is not the stream for you, Big Boss, because you're looking for a stream where the discussion is more penis centric, and this is not such a place. Things were easier then. Things were a lot simpler. Obviously, there wasn't any internet. People didn't have cell phones. When you left the house, nobody expected you to be able to be contacting you for until you returned. Big Boss, see, you're right. You're not trolling because that's just so painfully commonly done that it doesn't even qualify as trolling, just being lame. Well, no, because epi is a way of paying attention. So we need to understand that's what it is. It's a way that you pay attention. When you're paying attention via extroverted feeling, you do note things like expressive facial expressions, and you do seek to have harmonious relationships with people, which is to say, you seek to do things that are aware of how they are emotionally going to be impacted by what you do. You'd like to err on the side of providing help rather than receiving help or something like that, you know, things of that sort. So those are descriptions of how people pay attention. When you're talking about an overview of harmony is some sort of analytical frame. Okay, Jeffrey, you're being gross. Nobody likes grossness. Ooh. Speak for yourself, Dreamsy Smokes. I'm a fish. Okay, Big Boss. I don't respect that you insist on talking about it. I don't respect that at all because nothing to respect. But I don't respect, especially, that you insist on talking about it. Okay, that's ridiculous. Let's remove this racist shit, please. What's your opinion on cops? I mean, look, cops are a group of people that include lots of individual people, just like every other group of people we might point to. It is the case that, unfortunately, in the United States, we don't have enough legal protection against abusive cops, cops who are criminals themselves but don't get prosecuted for these crimes because of their limited immunity. It's ridiculous. I love you. I live for you, says Brian Fisher. Well, thanks, Brian Fisher. Thanks for living for me. You could live for other people too if you wanted to, but that's fine. Dear kind sir, when does Saturday scuba diving, spaghetti, Sasquatch, and Scooby Doo class begin? Oh, it's Saturday. You're right. Saturday morning. We'll see. Maybe at dawn. So the thing is, I don't really personally tend to have problems, encounter difficulties with law enforcement because I'm not really who they're looking to pull over, probably. I don't know, Big Boss. I guess it would depend on the girth of the cocks, right? Since you're not concerning yourself with how many would fit in my throat, then it would depend on the girth. So if one of the cocks was this girthy, I probably couldn't get even one in my mouth. Oh, I get it. It's science related. You need help for your science experiments. You need data. It's shit, man. I appreciate your plight. Black individuals get a bad reputation. It's no fault of mine. This day and age, you need to take advantage of it, I suppose. No, I don't like poop, Brian Fisher. I like to poop. I said no, Brian Fisher. God, don't be gross. If you want to talk about your love of poop, go to a poop channel, not this one. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? With the cop, the thing about power is that it attracts the worst, corrupts the best. Power is only given to the ones who lower themselves to pick it up. Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm willing as a patriot to serve one term as president and to run for president in the upcoming election. It's not because I want power, it's because I somebody sane has to step in and go, okay, everybody, let's take it down a notch and step back for a second and be sane. How about that? Things I was brought into the world to do, or is this what I was created for, to huddle under the blankets to stay warm? Well, it depends how tired I am, Marcus Aurelius. So, like, if, like last night, I didn't get very good sleep because I'm not sure why. And then when I got home today from our errands to the store, I was really yawning. I said, let's go lie down and take a nap, Rachel. And I did nap for a couple hours. And then I was not so tired and I woke up and watched the baseball game, etc. Well, I don't know what I was born to do, but I do know that whatever it is I'm doing, I'm I do more successfully and more happily if I'm comfortable. Why don't old women have babies? Their arms aren't long enough for breastfeeding. As best they can. And you're not willing to do your job as a human being. What do you think my job as a human being is? Like, why do you presume that my job as a human being, first of all, is not time specific? Like, I'm in a certain moment in my life, not in a previous moment in my life. There were previous moments in my life when I was very concerned about being highly competitive and winning debate tournaments, and I was pretty intense coach, and I put in long hours and all that stuff. But I still needed to get a good amount of sleep. I don't run that well off little sleep. Well, that's fine, Padawan Range Bender. I need to fulfill my duty as a patriot and make an attempt. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. I've still fulfilled my duty. I've done the best I could. But I feel like I owe it to, if nobody else, my father, who really believed in this country, served in two of the military forces. Um, Big boss, that's not how reincarnation works, okay? You don't reincarnate as just the penis of somebody. You need to study reincarnation. Reincarnation and Penises, a book by the reincarnation guy. Here's the thing: if a cop was to pull me over, I'd be a respectable person. I understand that I've done something wrong, maybe, and if not, I could fight it later in court. Well, when I have gotten pulled over in the past, I've just said if I actually did something wrong, I would usually be like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Yes, because I was speeding. You caught me. No point in fighting, like lying to him. Unless I did something I could get arrested for, then maybe I'd lie to him. Yeah, he was a very patriotic guy. He believed in the Constitution. He believed the Supreme Court was there to protect our rights from intrusive government and stuff like that. But he wasn't an ideologue. So he's just another human being making ends meet. Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes it is the case that you've got cops who are there to abuse their power and so forth. It is the case that that's a lot likely to happen in that field, that you're going to find people who abuse power than in other fields, because in that field you can get away with it so much better. Well, that's true. I mean, and that would be the argument for a cop who did who did kill somebody who didn't deserve it, would be like, oh well, I was afraid for my life. Well, fuck you, dude. If you feel like because you're being on this job means you're gonna have to kill somebody or shoot somebody every time you're afraid, then you're not cut out to be a cop. You're just a big pussy, and that's fine. I don't expect people to necessarily not be pussies. Maybe I'm a big pussy too, but if you are a big pussy, don't become a cop. What do I think of George Floyd? I think he was murdered, obviously. Every decent person thinks he was murdered. Oh, come on, dreams he smokes. The cops need to get somebody into custody as quickly and with as little force as possible and doing as little damage to them as possible. That was clearly like street justice. There's no possible way the cop can continue to claim that his use of force was necessary and appropriate after they already have the fucking guy down on the ground, right? No, I don't remember you, Byron Fisher. I don't. Okay. What book cures? I don't know what you're talking about. Well, the thing is, Dreamsy Smokes, we need to expect a high standard of behavior from our cops. Their job is to apprehend the guy with as little use of force as possible, as quickly as possible, regardless of anything else. That is not what happened in that instance. Okay? It's not until the guy stops being any conceivable threat to anybody by in other words is completely still. You got situations where cops are inflicting pain, the person's writhing around, and then they justify inflicting more pain because the person won't be still. That kind of bullshit needs to stop. No better training. No. That cop needs to be convicted of murder. Let's be honest, okay? We don't want that fucking shit bag on the streets. Just because you don't think George Floyd was an upstanding citizen enough doesn't mean he deserved to be murdered. And we need to get rid of limited immunity so cops take their actions seriously. Not just that when they kill somebody, they're gonna maybe get suspended or something, but that they're gonna go to jail like anybody else, unless they can genuinely justify that it was like self-defense, not preventative self-defense, like, well, I thought he might have a gun, so I shot him and shit. There's so many instances, Andrew Jackson. Being on drugs didn't kill him. That's ridiculous. Having his neck not being able to breathe obviously killed him. You can't there's no reason to put somebody under that kind of physical stress. There's no reason to be putting any weight on anybody's neck ever if you're a cop, right? You need to find the least harmful way possible to apprehend this person. That was not the case in that situation, and we should all condemn the cops involved accordingly. It doesn't matter, Andrew Jackson. I'm doing drugs right now. That doesn't justify anybody killing me, you fucking tard. Just go away. I'm just hiding you. Done. Nobody's idolizing George Floyd. It doesn't matter if George Floyd was a scumbag. George Floyd doesn't have a legal obligation not to kill somebody in the process of apprehending them like the cops do. I have a much higher standard for the cops than I do for George Floyd, obviously. And we all should. Yeah, they could have apprehended him without killing him. That's the bottom line. And they should therefore be punished for killing him. I mean, in other words, if it could have been handled better, results in somebody's death, then those fucking cops need to go to jail. You can't fuck up a little bit and accidentally kill anybody and kill somebody and they'll be like, oh, it's more training. That's fucking felony murder. It's like if they're behaving in ways that are not consistent with their obligations as officers of the law to do as little harm as possible, then they end up killing him, even if they didn't mean to kill him. That still should be manslaughter, right? Fuck them having limited immunity for that shit. That's why it kept happening for such a long time. Now it's kind of happening less because there was such a big uproar about it finally and so forth. But yeah, I mean, we need to make sure that we excise from all of our law enforcement, but squads or whatever departments. We need to make sure we excise all these fucking scumbags from those departments so that we have upstanding cops that we can actually trust. It doesn't matter, right? The cops are not the ones on drugs. So they're not the ones who can use drugs as an excuse for anything, or even trying to use drugs as an excuse. George Floyd was on drugs. Cops should not only kill people who aren't on drugs, but should also not kill people who are on drugs. If you think otherwise, then you're wrong. I mean, it's like if he hadn't been on drugs, they would have said, oh, he died from a pre-existing heart condition or something. It's like they'll just come up with any kind of bullshit to justify them killing him because they don't want to go to get punished for it. Well, dreams he smokes. Regardless of whether he was lying, he's not the one I'm critiquing for killing him. So you know what doesn't justify killing somebody? They're lying. You know what doesn't justify killing somebody? The fact that they're on drugs. You know what doesn't justify killing somebody? The fact that they have a record. None of those things justify the murder of that man. So I blame the murderer for the murder, not the victim, obviously. Because I'm fucking sane. Good night. I'm done.